Hey, how's it going, guys? So tonight I'm going to be building some lineups on DraftKings for the Thursday night football matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins. Um, I'm going to be building a single entry lineup for tomorrow night, and I'm also going to be doing building some mass entries on Fantasy Labs for tomorrow night as well. We're going to be making about 40 lineups on there. It's going to be 10-cent and 25-cent entries, 20 different lineups for each contest. So not quite a huge mass entry, but just going to be taking you guys through the process that I go through and building lineups on Fantasy Labs. Again, we've got a big matchup tomorrow night, especially if Tua plays. If he's fully recovered from the back injury and the ankle injury, dismissing the entire fact that he looked like a drunk walking out of the bar after banging his head against the turf. But so yeah, again, big potential for a shootout tomorrow night. Ought to be a very entertaining game. But again, let's go ahead and jump into this and build some of these lineups for tomorrow night. So again, we got some big contests. We got a $15 entry here for the Thursday night Millie Maker. We won't be doing that just because of the mass entries that you can do on that one. We're going to go with a single entry contest here for 150,000 total prizes in this contest. So again, it's the 150K huddle for Showdown on this contest here. 15,000 at the top for the top prize. If you're in the money, you double your money automatically, and then steady climbing from there. So at the top of the salary board here, we got Jamar Chase at $16,500. Hasn't exactly tapped into the ceiling that we know that he's capable of after having that Rookie of the Year season last season. Still getting a massive target share for 16 targets, 9 and 10 for week 1, 2, and 3. Still finding the end zone in 2 out of the first 3 games of the season. Definitely plenty of opportunity there for him. Just hasn't panned out to be big fantasy days the past 2 weeks. But he can definitely turn it around this week against Miami, especially if Tua doesn't end up playing. I can definitely see Jamar Chase tapping into about 20 fantasy points easily for tomorrow night's game. The second highest player priced at $16,200 is Tyreek Hill. Again, something to monitor is Tua's status for tomorrow night. They haven't released whether or not he's going to be playing for sure or not. But again, if Tua does play, fire Tyreek Hill up at $16,200 for the captain spot. Still getting a big target share the first 2 weeks. Last week didn't exactly go his way in a very lackluster game that didn't really live up to the hype that I thought it would. Buffalo just seemed completely out of whack in that game. I don't know whether it was the heat or what, really. It was just kind of a weird game. But Miami pulled it out and got the win over the Super Bowl favorites, basically, of the NFL for the 21-19 win. But again, Tyreek Hill, one of the top fantasy producers in the past several years, coming from Kansas City. Hopefully, he can bounce back after this lackluster performance against Buffalo, especially after getting everyone's hopes up with that performance at Baltimore with that 45-point fantasy day. Next guy in line is $15,300 is Jalen Waddle. Looks like he's dealing with a groin injury at this time, but the fact that he practiced a little bit today bodes well for his his availability for tomorrow night's matchup. He's been the most, I would say, consistent fantasy producer over Tyreek Hill, although we know Tyreek Hill is very capable of being the top guy in that offense. We like Jalen Waddle here, getting over 100 yards receiving each of his past 2 games, basically averaging 20 yards a catch so far this season, getting into the end zone as well, 2 out of the past 3 games. I like Jalen Waddle here, especially if Tua plays. I'm a firm believer if you got 2 guys that are, I would say, solidified pass catchers on a team, and one of them is known to be a game breaker per se. I'll always like leaning towards the 1B option, I would say, especially in primetime games like this one for Thursday night. So I'm going to be looking to play Jalen Waddle over Tyreek Hill, assuming that he's going to be playing and assuming that Tua is going to be playing as well. Joe Burrow's at $14,400. Had a lackluster performance against Dallas. That Bengals offense has kind of been a bit of a roller coaster this past season. 26.22 fantasy points, 16.5 fantasy points, and 23 last week against the Jets. 36 attempts for the past 2 games. Again, he was behind against Pitt for the majority of that game. And then they also obviously went into double overtime as well, boosting that attempts there, kind of being a little bit of an outlier in the statistics there. But Joe Burrow, I liked his comment this past week when asked about the white uniforms that they're going to be playing in tomorrow, and he said, "I don't care, man. I'm just going to be playing." He said, "I could be playing in trash bags for all I care. I'm just ready to play ball." And it's always good to hear, professional athletes, just really not being normal guys, just wanting to play ball. But I like Joe Burrow tomorrow night, especially if Tua's not coming in 100%. Speaking of Tua, 14,100. Obviously, week 2 was the highlight of his season so far. But not to say that he gets a pass for week 1 and week 3. New England and Buffalo are probably some of the toughest matchups he'll have all season, playing against Belichick and playing against that tough Buffalo defense as well. But really got to monitor his status for tomorrow night's game. Says here that he plans on playing tomorrow night, assuming that the NFLPA doesn't find that his non-existent concussion was mishandled. But just something to keep an eye out on. But if Tua does play, I definitely like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in that spot. My favorite pass catcher for Cincinnati is going to be T. Higgins, not because of the jerseys back there behind me, but because he's been the most consistent fantasy producer for Cincinnati the past 2 weeks at 19.1 fantasy points and 14.3 fantasy points as well. He's definitely demanded a good target share at 10 targets here for week 2 and 7 in week 3. Only found the end zone 1 time this year so far against Dallas. Almost hit 100 yards last week as well against the Jets. I like T. Higgins, big body receiver in the red zone. Again, as I said earlier, if there's a 1A, 1B option and a guy that is known to be a game breaker, I always like to lean towards the 1B receiver to not get as much attention from the defense and to really take advantage of better matchups than a Jamar Chase or a Tyreek Hill would see. So I like T. Higgins in the spot at 12,300. Gives you a little bit of salary relief in the captain spot too. So moving on to, we're going to skip the running backs on here, especially for the captain spot. I'm kind of going to go look at some of the bigger values for this lineup as well. River Craycraft at $3,600 in the captain spot. He's found the end zone twice in the past 2 weeks against Buffalo and Baltimore. And he's found it on the smallest opportunities as well. 2 targets and 1 target, but he's made the most of them. He's catching touchdown passes. So I like River Craycraft here at $3,600. Definitely won't be playing him in the captain spot per se, but definitely like him as a value. And then I also like Raheem Mostert at $6,600 for the captain spot. He's had a healthy share of the running back touches in the backfield. Also getting a little bit of work in the passing game as well. The guy has some great speed coming off the tackle there with outside runs. I like to think of him as a big play type player, kind of a boom and bust, a guy that you can throw him into a lineup and he can pick up huge yardage and production just by a single carry, basically. So I like throwing him into a lineup as well for this. So let's go ahead and jump into starting with the captain spot here. Now, again, this is going to be building a lineup, assuming that Tua is playing. So we're going, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and go with Jalen Waddle at $15,300, leaving us a $6,940 average player remaining. So we're going to be building a Miami centralized stack here. We're going to play my value pick here at Craycraft at $2,400 and pairing up Tua with his kicker here and Sanders. And again, we just got to add Tua, assuming that he's going to play at $9,400, leaving us $9,500 left for each player on the board. So definitely going to put in Joe Burrow, hoping for a shootout here, and then throwing in T. Higgins at $8,200. So we got a Tua stack with Jalen Waddle, Rivers Craycraft, Jason Sanders, and Tua Tagovailoa for the Miami Dolphins, with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins rounding out that lineup with $1,300 remaining. So we go ahead and enter that for $5. We made our first lineup for Thursday Night Football. So that's our 15,000 top prize lineup for tomorrow night's game. We'll go ahead and jump in and to Fantasy Labs and build our 40 lineups here for tomorrow night as well. So we're jumping in on Fantasy Labs here. We're going to be building 40 different lineups for tomorrow night's game. I'm going to be showing you how I do my rules on here for Fantasy Labs. So the standard that it gives you is 90% minimum salary cap. Obviously, the max salary cap here. I've already clicked off for defense. I will not be using any defense in any of our lineups here. The most I want to have playing against an opposing defense is 4, but because we don't have defense in there, it won't be an issue. To start us off with the position rules, we'll start with a captain quarterback here for pairing him with at least 2 of his running backs, receivers, or tight ends from the same team. We'll also pair him with exactly 1 kicker from his team as well. That way, for any time they get into scoring position, even if they don't score a touchdown, it's going to help their kicker out. And if they do score a touchdown, at least that's 1 point, assuming that they'll just kick the extra point. We'll set another rule here for the captain spot. For any time there's a quarterback in the captain position, we want to pair him with the opposing quarterback from that game. That way, if there's Tua or Joe in the captain spot will make sure that he's going to be paired up with the other quarterback. And then for the custom rules here, we'll include at least one player with the ownership of less than 8%. We'll put all the position groups in here. That way, if we do get a lineup that hits on all the positions, we'll at least have one player in those lineups that have a very low ownership to maximize our profits in those lineups. So with those parameters, we'll build lineup here. 40 different lineups. Looks like Tua is definitely the highest exposed player at 95%. Right behind, right in front of Joe Burrow at 72.5%. So it looks like we got a big share here of 45% with Sharefield. Let's look at DraftKings to see what he looks like on for his production on the week. Sharefield being a guy that I completely missed on here, so I'm just curious to see what his stats are for this week. Let's go ahead and type that in. Sharefield. All right, 2 targets, 1 target. Minimal production, but I'm assuming they threw him in there because of his projected ownership. So we'll leave that at bay. So it built us our 40 different lineups with a ceiling, average ceiling at about 140 points. We'll save those lineups here. We'll download the files, and then you'll click on edit entries here. Go to Showdown, captain mode. Download that spreadsheet. And what this does, it'll show you all your different lineups for your contest this week. Then you go back here to your browser that you downloaded the lineups on, and it'll come up all these weird codes if you haven't done this before, and you simply just copy and paste, boom, and they're all there. So as you can see, I made the exact same lineup for $1 entry on Showdown as well. So again, we just entered in our 40 different lineups. You hit you hit save. Go ahead and save that the way it is. You go back to DraftKings and go upload CSV. You'll hit the entries here, and boom, it'll edit all your different lineups there. And so that's how you build pretty large amount of lineups on Fantasy Labs there. So so yeah, we just did 41 different lineups in a matter of 20 minutes. All right, so that was my Thursday night football matchup video there. We built 41 different lineups. One we did by hand, and then we built another 40 using the Fantasy Labs lineup optimizer. If you haven't used it, I recommend it. They have a lot of good projections. They have a lot of good tools to get as much of an advantage on the field as possible. It's really helped me out this season. It really helps, especially with doing your research and really being able to get as much data as possible before you're building all these lineups. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. But thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment on who's your favorite player to play at captain this week for the Thursday football matchup tomorrow night with the Bengals and Dolphins. Again, look out for some more videos coming out this week. I'm going to be doing a stacks video as well as a running back, receiver, and a fade video. So stay tuned. Look out for those videos coming out later this week. Thank you guys again for watching. Come check it out next time.